Hello everyone, happy Monday and welcome to today's video. This is going to be our weekly rendition of Smash or Pass, where we look at the fragrance releases that have been announced over the past week and we discuss whether or not we want to get them and why. This is a fun, playful way for us to not only talk about what's new, but also evaluate what we like, what we don't like, and look at some trends. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely do keep on watching. But if this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I absolutely love fragrances. I talk about them here every single weekday, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. And if you're interested in fragrance history and you like podcasts, I have a podcast called The Fragrance Report. It's available every single Wednesday on Spotify and on YouTube. And if you are also looking for a way to be more mindful with your fragrance consumption, if you want an efficient way to track what's in your collection and the money you're spending on new fragrances, then you can definitely download my fragrance collection log and expense tracker. It's available in my Stan store. It's an effective way for you to track not only full-size bottles, but also samples, decants, look at the notes that you have, and it's really effective. So definitely check it out. It's in my Stan store. But with that being said, we have a lot to get through, so let's get started. All right, so the first fragrance I'd like to talk to you about is actually a rather exciting release for me personally, because I have loved this line for such a long time, and now they're coming out with a marshmallow version. This is Alahab's Choco Musk Marshmallow. So this is clearly supposed to be a play on the marshmallow trend, which is gaining a lot of traction, but this particular fragrance will have notes of marshmallow, cocoa, strawberry, and vanilla. It's clearly inspired, at least in part, by Kheir's Bougie Marshmallow. And if you guys don't know, I have loved the Choco Musk fragrance from Alahab for years. In fact, it was one of the very first Middle Eastern fragrances I ever purchased. So this announcement really popped out at me. The only thing I'm actually wondering about, and let me actually do a quick Google search so I can confirm this, but I am definitely curious about how they're pricing it. And it looks like they're pricing it for $20 on Intense Oud, and then it's $10 for the oil. Not bad. I would definitely recommend getting the oil if you want something that's really going to be terrific value for your money, because the oils, particularly from Alahab, they stay a lot longer on the skin, they last a long time, and they're amazing for layering. I know specifically for Choco Musk, I have, I think, like about 10 oils from the Choco Musk fragrance, like literally 10 oils just stashed away in all sorts of different places, and it's a fantastic, convenient way to literally just layer with your fragrances. So I think I would really be interested in getting the oil personally, and I'm really excited about this release. It's $10. You can't really miss that for $10. Another release from them is this fragrance called Spring Rose. I do believe this may also be available in oil form, but I'm seeing it in the eau de parfum version. This has top notes of pear, a mid of geranium, tuberose, rose, and iris, and then a base of sandalwood, white musk, and amber. So there's not much information available on this, but I will say Alahab fragrances in general, I remember when I was first getting into fragrances, I really loved experimenting with this brand a lot because their perfumes, like, you can get them for a really inexpensive price. Like, there's affordability, and then there's like Alahab affordability. Some of their older fragrances run anywhere from like $10 to $15. So when I was first getting into fragrance, I was really buying a lot of the Alahab fragrances, the oils in particular, also the EDPs, because it was just such a useful way to introduce myself to a variety of different scent profiles and really mix and match on a budget. So if you're interested in that, definitely do check out Alahab. There are some of the more affordable options, and while some other Middle Eastern brands have really increased their prices, Alahab tends to be very affordable. They tend to stay pretty affordable considering what you're getting, which is always wonderful. Next up, we have Gucci. They're launching 2 Gucci Guilty Absolute fragrances for men and one for women as well. Let's look at the Parfum version, which is for women first. So key notes include coffee, amaretto, tonka bean, and wisteria. And then for the masculine version, let's just check this out as well. The masculine version includes notes of rum, orange blossom, and red chili pepper. Sounds rather intriguing. For those of you who are new here, my philosophy when it comes to designer fragrances is I only really want to get them if I absolutely love them, simply because designer fragrances are literally available almost anywhere, so I'm not going to be excited, or I'm not going to be too excited about a new release unless I have the chance to try it, which I usually do anyway. So these are some new fragrances from Gucci, but let me know if you're interested in trying these out yourself. We also have a new vetiver fragrance from Guerlain. This is going to be part of the L'Art and La Matière lineup. I'm really bad at French, please forgive me, but this fragrance will have a top note of fig and pineapple, a mid of cypriol, and then a base of tonka beans and vetiver. I actually really do like the sound of this. I don't know about you, but there was, I feel like sometimes like I go like in between liking vetiver and not liking it, and it does depend on the fragrance. There was a time that I was like a little bit intimidated by vetiver, and there was also a time where I literally wanted to get so many fragrances with vetiver in them, and some of them I'll like, some of them I won't. But more times than not, I really do appreciate vetiver because it can be such like a kind of like a nice, it can be such a cozy scent for me, and it's a nice way of including green in a fragrance, but still having it be smooth and not too vegetal, which I like. So I'm excited about this. This is their premium fragrance line. So realistically, I don't think I'm going to be buying this because it's going to be a little bit out of my price range. But also, if we look at the fragrance bottle itself, like, I love the look of it. I think it's like dark and kind of like villainous almost, even though it's probably not meant to be like that. But this is the kind of fragrance that I would expect like a movie villain to have on their dressing table, you know what I mean? That's like the vibe that I'm getting in my head. I know, super imaginative. But this is the kind of fragrance that I would very much like to sniff, but I don't necessarily think that this is going to be something that I'll get. But just because I'm not going to actually get it doesn't mean I can't appreciate the fragrance for what it is. So we also have a new fragrance from Zoologist. This is called Portuguese Man of War, and this will be a fragrance that's an aromatic fougere with top notes of ginger, saffron, and immortelle, a mid of Caribbean gunpowder, jasmine sambac, and geranium, and then a base of seaweed absolute, sandalwood, and tonka. I did not realize this before, but apparently Zoologist has done a refresh on their bottle design. Previously they had like this like flat front on their bottles. Now it's a rounded effect. I actually do like the new bottle design. I think it's quite lovely. And when it comes to Zoologist in general, for those of you who are unaware, they tend to release fragrances inspired by animals and their environments. And the Portuguese Man of War is actually a colonial hydrozoan, apparently, that drifts on the ocean's surface, preying on small fish and crustaceans. So the thing is, whenever they come out with these fragrances inspired by animals, right, they always add like a human aspect to the animals, like in the illustrations. So the animals are, animals, yes, but they're like dressed in, human clothing, and I just love like the look of the fragrances. I think that they're kind of, I think they're rather special, and when it comes to branding, Zoologist really does have that down pat. They're the only fragrance brand that does this, so you can just look at a fragrance and you will know if it's a Zoologist fragrance, which as someone who's really into marketing, I really love that. So yeah, this seems interesting. In general, I feel like there are a lot of Zoologist fragrances that I would like to smell. They are very potent, by the way, and quite polarizing. I feel like Zoologist fragrances do a lot of experimentation. Sometimes they go out of the box, but they do have quite a few fragrances that I do like. One of them is Zoologist Bee. If you're looking for just like a straight up honey, super potent fragrance, that one is insane. I have like a 10 milliliter decant of it, and literally I don't have to use it that much anyway because like it's so potent. All their fragrances are incredibly potent, by the way, so yeah. This is something I'm interested in trying out, but let me know, have you tried anything from Zoologist? And if so, what were your thoughts? Do you really like the brand? Do you hate the brand? Or are you kind of in between? I'm curious to hear your opinion. Okay, so next up we have a fragrance called Celestial Whispers by Maison Margiela, and this is actually something that I saw, and I saw the inspiration behind it. And I really do want to smell this. I do want to try it out. I'm looking forward to it. This is a fragrance inspired by the scent of smoke used in holy places. I think I did a short I would have posted it probably within the last few days, talking about my favorite kind of church fragrances, like fragrances that could be used or could be inspired by the ritual, that is common in Catholic churches, for instance. So for me personally, I really like the smell of incense. I love the idea that like you can get a fragrance that's inspired by, church. And I think that's like a niche thing that I really do love, and I think a lot of people do as well. And a lot of perfumers take inspiration from that aesthetic and they put it in fragrances. And in this particular case, this does seem quite interesting for me because of that. So this fragrance will have accords that are ambery and woody, and the fragrance itself will have top notes or notes of incense, aldehydes, and amber. So I'm not seeing the scent pyramid, but these are like the key notes that are available currently. I will say this, I'm looking at the box, and I'll put the photo of the box on the screen with the actual fragrance. The box is giving Scientology. It's giving like alternative religion. Wait, I'm not sure how I feel about that. I don't know. Like, I don't know too much about Scientology. I just know a little bit, but like, isn't Scientology, like, doesn't this give Scientology like spatial inspiration? Wait, is Replica a Scientologist run brand? If they're a Scientologist run brand, allegedly, okay, by the way, allegedly, I'm theorizing. I don't know anything about Replica and its ownership. I really don't. I am theorizing this is all alleged for legal purposes, obviously, because I yak too much. But, yeah, it's coming this fall. Okay, well, I guess we'll find out about it. But it looks like an AI-generated idea of, like, alternative religion. So that's making me feel a little bit weird. Okay, yeah, of course, I want to try it out. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so Régime de Fleurs is launching this fragrance called Ylang Fizz. And this particular perfume will have top notes of iced guava, pink pepper bitters, and orange blossom soda, a heart of ylang-ylang, star jasmine, and effervescent tuberose, and then a base of vanilla, coriander, and balsams. Okie dokie. So this is a fragrance embodiment of a festive drink. The scent opens with iced guava and yada yada, what I just mentioned. Okay, it's an interesting fragrance. I'm wondering why they're not coming out with this fragrance. Is this an oil? No, it's not. I'm wondering why they're not coming out with this fragrance in their usual packaging, because they usually have like packaging that's a little bit more extra than this. This is pretty minimal. This fragrance will be available for $220 in a 30 milliliter format. Okay, I really like the look of, like, I like the notes. I like the idea of the fragrance. I think that's too expensive. I just know that let me backtrack. I would not pay that much for a 30 milliliter of a fragrance. Unless it was an absolutely spectacular fragrance that was super potent and had some like expensive ingredients. I don't know if this one does. I do think that it's a little bit much to be paying $220 for a 30 milliliter fragrance based off of where I'm at and what my preferences are regarding budget and what I choose to spend on fragrance. This to me is too steep for me to like it. But if you want it, go for it. But this is definitely going to be a no for me. So next up we have a new release by Gucci. This is going to be part of their Gucci Flora line, and this is a flanker. It is Flora Gorgeous Gardenia Intense, and this is following their previous launch, Flora Gorgeous Orchid, and this is going to be a floral woody gourmand scent with notes of mandarin essence, gardenia accord, and hedoine, and sandalwood essence. This does seem interesting. I would be open to smelling it. However, I'm not, like, historically, I haven't, like, been, like, a big lover of the Flora line from Gucci. It's just never been my favorite line, and it smells nice. It just doesn't smell, like, wow to me. So this is gonna be a pass, likely. but it's interesting because I feel like my collection has grown to the point where I see a floral fragrance with a sandalwood base and like maybe like a citrusy top, and I'm like, okay, it's another one. You know what I mean? If someone who has like a smaller collection or is just starting out with fragrance tries this, likes it, and sees it, obviously, like, I mean, I have no issue with that. But as someone who has a lot of floral fragrances from a variety of different price points, brands, categories, I don't like, it takes a lot for me to look at a floral fragrance at this point and be like, wow, I need to buy it. So this will likely be a pass just because of my personal preferences and where I'm at, but I look forward to smelling this in store. Hyat Fragrances is launching a new perfume called Beirut Baklava, which we will get to. But essentially, Hyat Fragrances is founded by Sihem, who is a TikTok content creator, and I absolutely love her videos. I've been watching her for years, like even before she started like having an interest in fragrances that she shared online. So I love her. I think she's amazing, and I think she's absolutely lovely. So she is one of the many content creators, or not many content creators, one of the content creators that's now kind of becoming known in the fragrance world for creating, you know, amazing fragrances. And Fragrantica did an article, this is an article titled Pretty Please and Guilty Pleasures, New Gourmand Perfumes by Kheir. I have a few thoughts on this article because number one, these are not new fragrances, so it's interesting that they're kind of like focusing this article on fragrances that are not new to this brand. And also like, okay, I would say check the article out. It's called Pretty Please and Guilty Pleasures, New Gourmand Perfumes by Kheir. Check it out because the author who wrote this, Sergei Borisov, he writes a lot for Fragrantica, and his pieces are usually like, I like his articles, but I don't know what happened, but like I feel like he just did like several paragraphs of like kind of ranting. Not like ranting in a bad way, but he was like just talking about like AI, storytelling, pretty people selling fragrances. Like it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm kind of like wondering if he was just like writing this like on like 5 cups of coffee at 3 a.m. I don't know. Like this article does not seem, it doesn't, like, he doesn't write like this usually. I don't think he does. I don't know. I might be wrong. Let me know. Are you someone who avidly follows Fragrantica? Did you read this article? What were your thoughts? But it's interesting because if you look at the article, they talk about Pretty Please, that cherry fragrance that they already launched. Like they have had this fragrance for like 6 months. Yeah, so then they have that, and then they have Guilty Pleasures. Again, it's sort of new, but not really. And then at the very end, they talk about Beirut Baklava, which is their actual new fragrance. Like that's the fragrance we're talking about because it's their new fragrance. But they talk about it at the very end. I just realized that you couldn't see my screen because of how bright it was. But yeah, like it's just, yeah, this is better. So this is a new fragrance. They spend most of the article talking about fragrances that they've already launched. These are not new. These have been out for, I think it's been a few months. I think. But regardless, they're not new. And then at the very end, they do like in addition, a few days ago, the brand announced a new gourmand perfume, Beirut Baklava. I mean, again, it's great that a brand is getting coverage, especially since this is very positive coverage. But I'm also wondering if maybe the caffeine got to him. We have top notes of orange blossom, bergamot, and cardamom, a mid of heliotrope, vanilla, baklava, pistachio, and whipped cream, and then a base of vanilla, cedarwood, leather, guaiac wood, honey, amber, white musk, and tonka bean. So, not gonna lie, when I first saw this fragrance, when I saw the keynotes, and when I saw like the general composition, in my head, I was like, this is actually really similar to another fragrance I own with baklava as a keynote. And it's Baklava Royale by Navitus. So Navitus collaborated with Gabrielle's Perfumes. I think this was like a year ago at this point, probably a little bit more than that. And they launched this fragrance that has keynotes of baklava, honey, and orange blossom, as well as some nutty accords. So I was looking at this, and in my head I was thinking, wow, this is kind of similar to that. Not saying that they're copying But it's kind of similar, you know? And I mean, these notes logically make sense. So again, I'm not saying they're copying, but I did see that there's leather in the scent pyramid. So as a result, I'm really curious about trying it out, specifically because I feel like leather would be a really cool way of kind of like having like a strong base to the fragrance that's not so sweet. Because my whole thing with the Baklava, honey, and orange blossom scent profile is that this is sometimes a scent profile that's a little bit difficult to work with because it's super sweet. But I feel like the leather would be a good addition to this. You know, fragrances like Sugar Leather, for instance. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Sugar Leather is a fragrance that was launched by Une Nuit Nomade. Sugar Leather is a fragrance that features like boozy, caramel, sugary accords, but then it has a nice base of leather that isn't as aromatic as you might think based off of the name, but it actually adds like a smoothness to the fragrance and it prevents the fragrance from being too sweet. I would love to see that in a baklava fragrance, and that looks like what we're getting here. So I would like to try this fragrance. They have travel sizes available. They also have their Discovery set, which is kind of like a set of 20 milliliter size fragrances, which I think is terrific value. I have it, I own it. So I have 4 fragrances in that set, but of course they're launching this one, so this will be their 5th fragrance. But generally, I'm really excited about this release. I think it'll be super cool and interesting. Unfortunately, this is a fragrance brand that you can only really get online. But they do have travel sizes available, and like I said, they do have that set of fragrances that come in the 20 milliliter sizes. So yeah, definitely something I am looking forward to testing out. So we have a new launch from brand. I don't know if this was announced like within the last week, but I do think I missed it when it was first launched or when it was first announced. This particular fragrance will have notes of bergamot, cassis, blackcurrant and apricot jam and divan at the top, amid of rose, maguey, night blooming jasmine and honeysuckle, and then a base of benzoin, cedarwood, vanilla, and Spanish honey. So this will be called Summer Street, and I will say this, I feel like I am so behind on the brand releases because they have launched a few really interesting fragrances that have been on my to try list. But you know when you have so many brands that you're interested in that like you kind of by default happen to maybe forget about some of them. I think that happened to me when it comes to brand because I have 2 travel sizes from them. Actually, no. Yeah, no. 2. I have Kheir and their original one, Genesis. Kheir I really loved, and I think there was one summer that I like wore the heck out of that fragrance. I loved it so much. But I really do want to catch up on some of their other releases because they have a few really interesting ones. So they have Guava Sorbet, which I have not tried, but I've heard a lot of great things. London Fog, which is like this Earl Grey tea scent. Bois de Santal, sounds amazing. And then Summer Street. Again, all these fragrances sound really cool. This, I think, definitely should be a brand that I prioritize trying. Do they have a discovery set? Please have a discovery set. It doesn't look like it. Wait. Oh, wait, they do have a custom discovery set. Actually, you know, that might be for me. Okay, so this custom discovery set is basically like you can get like their 3 travel sprays and you can choose the one that you want. And it's $115. That might be something that I need to get because, I mean, I haven't tried 4 of their fragrances, but I guess I can like choose 3 fragrances to try. But yeah, anyway, we all learn something new every day. But anyway, those are all the fragrances I want to talk about today. Do let me know what fragrances you find interesting. Is there anything in this video that particularly pops out at you? Or do you feel like there is something missing? Do you feel like you have been seeing a lot of releases that are kind of like, meh? Let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a chat. But thank you so much for watching until the end, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.